chosen his 7th Philippine National Police Chief, Jonardo Carlos, is taking the helm of the police force. And good news for moviegoers, some theaters reopened their doors after a year of shutdown because of the pandemic. Employers have the legal right to refuse job applicants who are unvaccinated against COVID-19. That's according to President Duterte. The president, who is a lawyer, explains in doing so, business owners are only protecting their investments and other employees. Here's the president in his own words.
You have the right to refuse to accept as an employee of somebody who is not vaccinated and would go and join the rest of the employees in the factory or in a place or whatever workplace that you have as your business. Tapos this guy would start to contaminate everybody. It could mean a loss of stoppage of whatever kung puro nagkasakit na. I think it's legal for employers not to accept people who are not vaccinated.
While he sees no problem with employers not hiring unvaccinated applicants, Mr. Duterte, however, says it would be illegal for business owners to fire employees who refuse to be vaccinated. Justice Secretary Manado Guevara earlier said there is no legal basis for businesses to force employees to receive coronavirus shots. The Labor Department also said employees cannot be terminated just because they are unvaccinated. But for Senator Grace Poe, unvaccinated applicants should not be rejected and instead be offered assistance. Poe calls for more efficient coordination between companies and local governments to give those seeking jobs access to COVID-19 vaccines. She says giving people both the vaccines and jobs will save lives and livelihoods amid a pandemic. The latest data shows there are 4.25 million unemployed Filipinos in September. That is 370,000 more from the 3.88 million in August. The government aims to immunize 15 million individuals during the 3-day vaccination drive dubbed Bayanihan Bakunahan. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says other regions will extend help to those still struggling to administer shots during the event slated from November 29th to December 1st. Schools, gymnasiums, fast food chains, malls, and workplaces will be transformed into inoculation sites so that there is enough space to accommodate all vaccinees. President Duterte urged Filipinos to participate in the program.
Na yung lahat nagpabakuna are heroes. Lahat kayo hero. Yung hindi nagpabakuna, yung mga pangit na bigyan ng problema na.
Nearly 30 million people in the country have been fully vaccinated, while 35 million have received their first dose. Before leaving the country, overseas Filipino workers are getting their COVID-19 doses from the government, but some skipped out because of the vaccine brand. The vaccination drive at the Department of Labor and Employment's main office saw confusion among OFWs after finding out they were getting AstraZeneca shots. Because these require a 3-month gap between the first and second doses, OFWs were afraid it could delay their travel abroad. The Labor Secretary said the allotted shots were from Brunei.
Actually, walang problema ang vaccine para sa mga OFW dahil A1 sila eh. Nagkataon lang kasi na pinadalan ako ng Brunei ng I think 2,000 dosage ng AstraZeneca, and Mrs. Sermonia of Clans requested for immediate vaccination. So agad-agad ay ni-schedule natin yung vaccination ng mga OFWs ngayon na who are scheduled to leave already for their destination.
Labor officials explained to OFWs that they could get their second dose in countries where they would be deployed. DOLE aims to vaccinate 2,000 workers bound for travel abroad. Now, the government buys more syringes as reserve stock so that the COVID-19 immunization drive will not be affected. The World Health Organization earlier advised countries to plan ahead warning of a possible shortage of up to 2 billion COVID vaccine syringes next year. In a statement to CNN Philippines, Health Undersecretary Mirna Kabutahe said the country has 5.9 million auto-destruct syringes in stock that is compatible with most shots. But Kabutahe added the current supply of 0.3 millimeter syringes for Pfizer doses are not enough. The government has so far secured 44 million of these through UNICEF, including reserve stocks. But deliveries have been late because of a global shortage. 4 million syringes are expected to arrive by the end of the month. As plans to reopen more schools are underway, a group wants students to have free access to housing and transportation. The National Union of Students of the Philippines says this is one way to prevent students from catching COVID-19, particularly those who commute to school. Last week, the government hit the green light on increasing passenger capacity in public transport, citing the decrease in cases.
Nandito pa rin talaga tayo sa point na nagko-call tayo for additional funding para mag-materialize itong mga basic services na ito na ma-provide sa ating mga estudyante na sasabak sa face-to-face classes.
Health advocate Dr. Josh San Pedro also stresses the need for regular testing among teachers and school personnel. He cites recommendations from the World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that monitoring student symptoms is not enough to avoid transmission. But for Education Chief Leonor Briones, regular testing may be, quote, traumatic for young students. The pilot run of limited in-person classes will be done in 120 schools with students from kinder to grade 3 and senior high school. Now, in news overseas, Singapore will require anyone, quote, unvaccinated by choice to pay for their own medical bills if they seek treatment for COVID-19. The Southeast Asian government pays for all COVID-19 related medical bills for Singaporeans, permanent residents, and long-term visa holders. But the country's health ministry says the unvaccinated make up a majority of those requiring intensive inpatient care, straining its healthcare resources. The new policy takes effect December 8th. France will require people over 65 years old to get a third COVID-19 shot to revalidate their health pass. The health pass has been an essential tool in boosting the country's immunization rates, as those without it are banned entry to public transport and other public and private spaces. Several parts of Europe are currently battling new case spikes caused by the Delta variant. Myanmar announces plans to welcome international tourists in early 2022. Officials have set up a website to anticipate tourist interest. Some governments, however, warn the residents to stay away from Myanmar because of COVID-19 concerns and instability in the wake of a coup. A military junta overthrew the country's democratically elected government in February. Coming up on Newsnight, a former police spokesman is taking on a new role as the 7th chief of the Philippine National Police under the Duterte administration. And an ally of presidential daughter and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte is confident she will gun for the highest post in 2022. Details after this short break.
Oh, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa
ng bawat Pilipino.
Para sa Step 1 registration, pumunta lang sa register.philsys.gov.ph para makapag-register sa PhilSys online.
Ito ang PhilSys,
ID natin to. Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Discovery Plus has arrived in the Philippines. Your new home of larger-than-life entertainment and unforgettable characters is here. Subscribe now at 129 pesos for the first year. Don't miss out.
This Christmas, gift giving is made easy at Robinsons Supermarket with their easy-to-order Christmas basket. Here in Robinsons Supermarket, our customers can choose from pre-made, vendor exclusives, a basket for World Vision, and fruit baskets. We also have desserts and platters, which are available in select Robinsons Supermarket branches. Our customers also have the option to create their own baskets based on their preferences and liking. We offer a wide variety of baskets for as low as 150 pesos up to 3,500 pesos depending on your budget. Customers can order these Christmas baskets in all Robinsons Supermarket branches or online via Go Robinsons. For the complete list of the available baskets, you can visit our customer service area or view the online catalog in our official website. Our Christmas baskets are available until January 15, 2022 in all Robinsons Supermarket branches. Enjoy a stress-free holiday season by ordering a Christmas basket and spread joy to your loved ones easily and safely. Merry Christmas!
Welcome back to Newsnight. President Rodrigo Duterte names Leonardo Carlos as the new Philippine National Police Chief. Carlos will replace Guillermo Eleazar, who is set to retire on Saturday, November 13th. Malacanang says it is confident he will continue making the PNP a, quote, professional, capable, and reform-oriented organization. Carlos, a member of the PMA Maringal class of 1988, is the current head of the PNP directorial staff. He also served as PNP spokesperson, Eastern Visayas Police Regional Director, and Highway Patrol Group Commander. Carlos will hold the top police post until May 2022, when he is set to retire at the mandatory age of 56. He is the 7th PNP chief under the Duterte administration. The Regional Drug Enforcement Agency in Davao carries out an internal probe into a controversial buy-bust operation in Davao de Oro. Former Davao City Information Officer Jeffrey Tupas was linked to a drug raid on Saturday at a beach resort in Mabini town, where a businessman and 16 others were arrested. In a statement with Rappler, Tupas claimed he left an hour before the raid took place, but the suspects claimed in an interview with news site Newsline Philippines that Tupas was present during the operation, but was released because of her supposed connection to Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. IDEA Director Wilkins Villanueva denied this on state television.
Walang Jeffrey Turpas sa target natin during the operation sa Davao de Oro.
Okay.
According mismo kay Jeffrey, nag-attend siya ng private beach party, but eventually umalis sila ng boyfriend niya before na ikasa ang buy-bust operation. So in short, hindi siya kasama sa mga hinuli. This is the first time na nagkaroon ng successful buy-bust operation sa isang private rave party. And our agent should be congratulated for successfully doing it.
Villanueva added the Duterte family has never interfered in any anti-drug operation in Davao. An ally of Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte believes she will run for president after she withdrew her re-election bid. Albay Representative Joey Salceda says he has been in touch with Duterte and that gunning for the vice presidency is not on the table for her. Salceda claims there is a strong chance she will run as the standard bearer of the Lakas CMD, the party of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, instead of PDP Laban, which is headed by her father, President Duterte. The lawmaker adds the younger Duterte would have filed her certificate of candidacy for president earlier, but faced hurdles in her plans.
That is the only logical conclusion to all the gyrations in politics inside the administrations. And BP is definitely not an option for her. She wanted to run on her terms. That's something, and that shows, I would say, enlightened stubbornness to a goal. Or unyielding firmness towards a purpose. So she did not yield a single inch. So she's running for president on her own terms.
Salceda first announced in May that Mayor Sara will seek the country's highest post. He says the mayor will reveal her plans before November 15, the deadline for the substitution of candidates. While Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte remains mum on her next steps after withdrawing her re-election bid, presidential hopeful Bongbong Marcos is urging the public to patiently wait for her decision. Marcos, through his spokesperson Vic Rodriguez, says any comment on the matter would be, quote, very inappropriate. But that's amid speculations about a possible Marcos-Duterte tandem ahead of the November 15 deadline for substitution. Another aspirant, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, says he does not care about any political move from the Davao City Mayor. Moreno says he would rather focus on listening to people's concerns than dwell on others' politics. Vice President Leni Robredo yesterday said the political plans of Duterte's children would not affect her bid for the country's top posts.
Tingin ko it can work to our advantage. Dahil mas klaro kung ano yung mga pinaglalaban, ano yung mga paniniwala, sino yung mga maghahampi. Tingin ko pag nangyari ito, yun yung magiging resulta na mas magiging defined yung mga linya.
Wala naman akong pakialam sa kung anong gusto nilang gawin sa politika nila. Kami ni Doc Willie tumakbo, nagdesisyon ng maaga, sumali at isinumite namin ang aming aplikasyon sa taong bayan para maglingkod sa taong bayan. Yung kanila, wala naman kami doon, hindi naman kami kasali ng kanilang politika. Buhay nila yon, basta kami sa tao muna.
In a tweet, Labor leader Leody de Guzman dared Mayor Duterte to run. In this way, de Guzman says the public can further show their contempt for what he describes as her father's failed governance. Well, what would Sara Duterte's path to the presidential race or any other national post in the 2022 elections be? Our Melissa Lopez is here to walk us through the process of substitution. Melissa, go ahead.
Political parties have 4 working days left to tweak their lineups for the upcoming polls. The Commission on Elections has set a November 15 deadline, that's on Monday, for what it calls voluntary substitutions, where parties are allowed to switch the candidates they are fielding for any post. It's a much-awaited maneuver, especially with presidential survey frontrunner Mayor Sara Duterte suddenly opting out of re-election in Davao City on Tuesday.
She is a regional party. If she is going to substitute, then she will have to join a political party that already has a candidate for whatever position she wants to substitute.
The poll body is also making special adjustments this year and announced it will also accept applications for substitution on Saturday from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon at the lobby of its headquarters, the Palacio del Gobernador in Intramuros, Manila, outside usual office hours. Aspirants must show up before COMELEC and personally withdraw their certificates of candidacy. Their replacements must belong to the same party and should file their own COCs together with a certificate of nomination from their political party. COMELEC says independent candidates cannot be substituted. There are 16 parties which fielded a presidential bet for 2022. And if we remove the groups that are not allied with Mayor Sara, there are about 10 national parties that could pave the way for her to join the presidential race if she so desires. This is the same process that Sara's father, then Mayor Rodrigo Duterte, went through when he ran for president under PDP Laban in 2016. Meanwhile, COMELEC has received at least 91 petitions to stop the candidacies of national bets, including that against presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos. Back to you, Pia.
Melissa, do we have any updates on preparations for the campaign and election day itself on May 9th? That's only 6 months away.
Yes, Pia, just this morning, the COMELEC and Bank voted for longer voting hours. Voting will start at 6 in the morning on May 9th and will be open until 7 in the evening. However, Commissioner Marlon Casquejo says that the 7 p.m. time is just the cutoff for people or voters to line up, and that precincts will only close once the last person in the line by that time has cast his ballot. As for campaign guidelines, these are still being finalized, although Casquejo said they are looking to anchor the categories or restrictions for campaigning to the alert level in a certain area or municipality. So if the COVID-19 restrictions are loose in the specific local government unit, more candidates and more supporters can interact in face-to-face campaign events. Back to you.
Melissa Lopez there reporting. Still ahead on Newsnight, cinemas in Metro Manila are finally reopening to moviegoers. Find out which films will be heading to the big screen. And speaking of films, a popular anime series is getting a live-action adaptation. We give you a first look at the cast of One Piece after the break.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, no? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
For the tools, grab your lemon wedge and apply it on the mouth of your glass. Grab your salt and dip in the mouth of your glass to create an even layer. Grab your cocktail shaker and pour your grapefruit juice, your lime juice, and your simple syrup. Lastly, our GSM Premium Gin. We're going to fill our shaker with ice. Now, shake. Get your glass and carefully add in some ice. Pour our cocktail. Then a grapefruit wedge. And here it is, your salty dog made with GSM Premium Gin.
When it comes to my family, I make sure to give them only the best. Meals that are healthy, safe, and flavorful. And that is why I choose Magnolia ready-to-cook chicken templados. It is so easy to prepare. In just 12 to 15 minutes, you can already enjoy this delicious family flavor. All you have to do is preheat your pan with oil. Now, pan fry your Magnolia ready-to-cook chicken barbecue. And if you wish, you can also grill this for about 12 to 15 minutes or until cooked. There you go, and now you can enjoy home-style goodness with Magnolia ready-to-cook chicken templados. Now, each Salyado Sigurado pack is pre-marinated. It is made from fresh chicken. It is so easy to prepare and super delicious. And not only that, but it is also high in protein, which helps boost our immune system. And you can get your Magnolia ready-to-cook chicken templados from Magnolia Chicken Stations. They come in chicken tocino flavor, and they also have the chicken teriyaki. This is so tasty, so tender, super, super delicious. My kids absolutely love this. Now, it's also good to know that Magnolia chickens are raised in a stress-free environment with no hormones, no antibiotic residue, and with omega-3. Ganyan ang alagang Magnolia.
Welcome back. Today, theaters got to see Pinoy moviegoers again after over a year of closure because of the pandemic. Movie exhibitors in the country say they lost 21 billion pesos in ticket sales. They're now trying to recover by reopening some cinemas as restrictions eased in Metro Manila. Chrissy Matula cast that story.
Watching movies is a form of therapy for Lord De Vera. When cinemas closed down temporarily due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Lord needed to find new ways to cope with his anxiety and stress. So when he heard the news that cinemas can now reopen, he was one of the first people to line up and buy a ticket.
I really tried not to watch kasi I want to watch it on the big screen na knowing na may mag-open na yung cinemas. Kasi I'm a fan of watching movies talaga sa cinema, even if mag-isa lang ako.
There are others who are just as enthusiastic as Lord, like this group of friends patiently waiting for their turn to buy tickets.
Masaya kasi pwede nang manood ng movies yung kasama yung family namin.
Fully vaccinated naman na po, tsaka
May social distancing pa rin naman po siguro.
Under Alert Level 2, cinemas can operate at 50% capacity for fully vaccinated individuals. Moviegoers would have to present their vaccination cards before they can buy tickets. In some cities like San Juan, minors aged 12 and up can also watch movies.
Of course, automatic na fully vaccinated adults dapat. Ngunit pati ang minors, nire-require po nila na fully vaccinated.
Inside movie houses, eating is prohibited, and the one-seat-apart policy is being implemented. Face masks should be worn. Despite the steady rise of movie streaming platforms, exhibitors say nothing can beat seeing films on the big screen.
Watching in a theater is still incomparable, no? Especially for the blockbusters movies, we have all the sensorams and everything, so we will have all the big titles coming in.
And of course, the screen is bigger compared to your house, no? And at the house, maraming interruption. Dito at least, you can watch for 2 hours, no? Relax and enjoy the experience of watching a movie in the theater.
Even with the implementation of health protocols in cinemas, movie enthusiasts are still happy that things are going back to the way they were. Chrissy de Matulak, CNN Philippines.
As theaters' doors reopen, we give you a look at some of the titles you can already watch today with your mask and face shield on. On the menu is sci-fi blockbuster Dune, which broke box office records upon release, and the sequel to the horror hit A Quiet Place. It arrives in the country nearly 6 months after its U.S. release. The long wait will also be over for fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson, comes out November 17, and Shang-Chi, the first Asian-led superhero MCU movie, is out on the 24th. Third on the plate is the star-studded Eternals, dropping on the first day of December. For anime fans, here are the faces that will portray the infamous Straw Hat Pirates on Netflix. The streaming giant announced 5 cast members for the live-action adaptation of the hit show and manga One Piece. Iñaki Godoy will play Luffy, and joining him are Mac Kenyu as Zoro, Emily Rudd as Nami, Jacob Romero Gibson as Usopp, and Taz Skylar as Sanji. Tomorrow Studios and One Piece publisher Shueisha are producing the 10-episode series. Carolers may sing Merry Christmas out on the streets again if they comply with health protocols. The Yuletide singing tradition was banned last year to help prevent COVID-19 cases. But this Christmas, Interior Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya said caroling is allowed for areas under Alert Level 2 as long as minimum public health standards are allowed or followed. Carolers outdoors and those listening can take up to 70% of the location's capacity. And if indoors, it would be at 50% capacity with all attendees already vaccinated. It is 45 days before Christmas, and that is it for now. Join me on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, Radyo Ronda, DXKT Davao, member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
The Burr months are almost here, and while there are many things to look forward to this season, it also means the monsoon months come with a number of diseases that we need to protect ourselves from. We need to prepare as early as now to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe as well as protected. And on the program today, we'll talk more about these monsoon diseases and how best to safeguard ourselves against them. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. As the weather gets a little cooler than usual, there are several rainy season diseases to watch out for. And what are these diseases and how can we protect ourselves from them? Let's welcome our guest for today. With us is Dr. Ferdy de Guzman, infectious disease specialist from the San Lazaro Hospital. And we're also joined by Dr. Rosalie Fuentes de la Rosa, who practices pediatrics. Now, among all rainy season diseases, many of you are probably most familiar with dengue. It's one of the most widespread diseases during these months in our country. So I'll start the discussion kay Dr. Ferdy. Dr. Ferdy, anong bang kailangan malaman ng ating mga viewers pagdating sa dengue?
So vector-borne po ito, so sa mosquito po ito nang gagaling. And the government has been very, very active po sa campaign against this disease because it has caused a lot of deaths before. So nothing much has changed about the disease except very important po na-emphasize pa rin ng government ang 4S po. Ito po ang ating moves against the spread of dengue.
Bago nagkaroon ng pandemic, lahat ng mga may lagnat is considered dengue until proven otherwise. But dengue is still around, so we still need to be careful for it. Now, dengue is a disease caused by any one of 4 closely related types of dengue viruses. And as of now, there's still no cure for it, but treatment is towards symptom relief. Dr. Sally, could you tell us about some of the signs and symptoms that may point to a person having dengue?
So when we say dengue, the most common signs and symptoms of such includes yung intermittent fever or yung pabalik-balik na lagnat which may last for 2 to 7 days. Some patients may also exhibit yung mga muscle and joint pains, yung pagsakit ng mga kasukasuan, and others may also feel yung mga pain behind the eyes, masakit yung mata nila, and there may also be associated na bleeding from the gums, nose, and even sa stool. Some may also experience loss of appetite or yung kawalan ng na kumain at pagsakit ng tiyan, and also skin rashes.
If you're feeling any of these symptoms, telehealth is readily available for you. Dengue infection can get progressively worse, so early detection ang kailangan. These types of symptoms, Dr. Sally, some people may automatically think na meron silang COVID-19. Ano yung mga symptoms ng dengue na talagang bukod tangi sa dengue?
To distinguish them apart, since overlapping yung symptoms nila, is to get the diagnostic test specific for those diseases.
Right.
That way, we can tell them apart, we can objectively and accurately diagnose the patient. Kapag may kahit isang symptom pa lang, the best thing to do while waiting to be tested is to isolate themselves kasi hindi pa sure kung ano yung pinakasakit nila, whether dengue ba talaga or COVID-19.
Now, another mosquito-borne disease that has quickly evolved in our country is malaria. Now, Dr. Ferdy, anong mga simptomas ang pwedeng makita sa isang tao na may malaria?
With malaria po, there is a cycle. So, fever, chills, diaphoresis. So, in other words, ano po itong diaphoresis? Pinagpapawisan po. So, cold, clammy perspiration. So, pareho po siya ng, let's say, COVID, ng nasabi ni Dr. dengue, but may cycle po. So every 3 days, pwede siyang cyclic, periodic, every 4 days. When it comes to malaria, dapat po may history of travel sa endemic areas. You don't find malaria in the heart of Metro Manila.
Okay, I think you bring up a good point, Dr. Ferdy, that malaria is very unlikely to be seen here in populated areas, urban areas. Why is that so? Meron kayong kinalaman ito sa type of vector at yung kung saan niya gustong manirahan?
The scientists discovered an additional species po sa list of mosquitoes responsible for malaria. So 5 na po yun, but fortunately, the mosquitoes cannot breed in Metro Manila. Kaya nga po, identified na lang po ang selected areas in the Philippines, Palawan, and I think some towns of Rizal. So this is actually the most difficult to treat, and it has high fatality rate if untreated po.
Now, apart from mosquito-borne illnesses, a number of rainy season diseases in our country are due to improper solid waste disposal. It's also a common pastime to wade in flooded waters here at home, and among these diseases is leptospirosis. Dr. Ferdy, please explain kung ano ang leptospirosis. Anong dapat malaman ng ating mga viewers?
Ang leptospirosis po, again, nakukuha po ito sa baha. A lot of our kababayans already know that. Sasabihin po ng iba, wala po akong sugat. Dok, paano ako nagka-lepto? Wala akong sugat. Usually po, yung mga dry skin natin sa paa can be an entrance for leptospira. But the common advice, of course, is pag umulan po, lalo na ngayon, monsoon rains, yung unang baha po, that's the one of the highest risk for leptospira. Kasi ito yung mga natambak na basura sa mga estero po, and if it rains, they get loosened up, and yan po ang lumulutang sa baha. So yung mga workers po, when they go to the office, ang advice lang po namin is wash when you reach home.
Given that contaminated water might be hard to avoid for many people here at home, what is the best way to prevent leptospirosis, Dr. Sally?
The best way to prevent leptospirosis is of course to avoid swimming, yung pagligo, and even yung wading sa potentially contaminated floodwaters or yung paglusong sa baha. And if it's inevitable or wading in flood cannot be prevented, best to wear protective clothing or footwear such as raincoat and boots. Getting infected is highly likely if the person who waded or yung lumusong sa baha has an open wound or may mga dry cracked skin. And lastly, and most importantly, always maintain cleanliness in the house to ensure proper control of rodents or rats infestation.
These are only a few diseases we need to protect ourselves from. When we return, we'll continue with our discussion on other monsoon diseases. Stay with us here on Med Talk Health Talk. You're watching CNN Philippines.
Anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Today, we're talking about monsoon diseases and how we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from them, especially in the middle of this pandemic. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to Med Talk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Just like many monsoon diseases, typhoid fever is a disease caused by improper sanitation. Dr. Ferdy, let's talk about typhoid fever. Ano ba ito? Saan ba nakukuha ito?
Typhoid fever po is a food. You have to be careful of the food that you take. Again, because food may be contaminated. Mostly fecal oral and typhoid fever.
Because typhoid fever usually spreads through yung feces or urine ng mga taong infected nito. And there are a few other factors that can make you more vulnerable to it. Dr. Sally, let's emphasize to our viewers 3 or 5 factors that they need to be mindful of to protect themselves against typhoid.
So the risk is higher in population with lack of access to safe water and adequate sanitation. The risk is also greater if you travel to endemic areas with poor sanitation, poor hygiene, and proximity to yung mga flying insects like yung mga langaw. Kaya we always advise our patients to avoid yung mga eating street foods which can be potentially contaminated since yung mga street foods, di ba, they are more commonly left uncovered. And yung even yung consumption or pagkain natin ng mga raw and contaminated fruits and vegetables can also be a risk factor. That's why it's important to wash thoroughly or hugasan po natin maigi ang mga fruits and vegetables before eating them, and cook our food well, and use food cover. That way, flies can be prevented from contaminating them. High risk factor din yung pagiging isang healthcare worker who handles directly specimen for mga typhoid fever.
Now, many of you have probably experienced diarrhea at one point. It's usually just mild and mainly affects probably young children below 5 years old. But Dr. Sally, when is diarrhea a cause for concern?
So, most cases of diarrhea naman are self-limiting or they resolve by themselves. However, in cases of severe diarrhea, meaning you have more than 10 episodes of loose stools in a day, or diarrhea presents with fluid losses having greater than the oral intake, meaning mas marami siyang nilalabas kaysa sa naiinom, that can lead to dehydration, which is a life-threatening concern or if left untreated. So, lalo na sa children, dehydration is particularly dangerous. So, warning signs for diarrhea which can be causes of concern includes yung mga diarrhea that lasts for more than 24 hours, even if you already started your treatment, excessive thirst or uhaw na uhaw ang bata with dry mouth, sunken eyeballs, and some may also present with pag kinurot mo sila or if you pinch their skin, hindi siya bumabalik for less than 2 seconds. So, that's also a warning sign. And even yung mga passage of bloody stools or fever na high grade, those are mga particular causes of concern natin.
And if you have diarrhea or LBM, drink at least 8-ounce glasses of water each day. Advice to this is you drink these in small sips. So tuloy-tuloy but small sips to give rest to your stomach and its hyperactivity. During the monsoon time, that is very common. The Department of Health reports that at least 480,000 Filipinos are affected by the flu each year. Now, the flu is a highly contagious respiratory illness that infects the nose, the throat, as well as the lungs. Dr. Ferdy, how is this usually treated ba kapag ang isang tao ay may trangkaso? Okay ba dito ang paglo-load up, pagdo-double, triple dose, quadruple dose ng vitamin C?
We tell our patients if they have a case of ILI, meaning influenza-like illness po. So pag sabi namin sipon-sipon lang, masakit ang katawan mo, so trangkaso lang yan, pahinga lang po sa bahay, rest, and lots of fluids and vitamin C. But nowadays po is much complicated, lalo na if you go to the hospitals. Kasi po pareho po silang mga influenza-like illnesses. But in this case, pag sigurado tayo na trangkaso na, of course, paracetamol lang po, vitamin C, and pahinga. But if you have yourselves checked and it turns out to be positive for COVID, ibang usapan na po yan. Pero sila po, kasama po yan sila sa ini-screen ngayon in the fever lines po ng DOH.
For some people, the change in season might also mean mga allergies. The rainy season usually brings about common allergens such as pollen, dust mites, as well as mold. Now, this allergic reaction is called allergic rhinitis or allergic rhinosinusitis. Now, Dr. Sally, how can we know if we're sensitive sa mga allergens na ito? No? Ano yung mga symptoms naman na pwedeng maramdaman kapag may allergic rhinitis ang isang tao?
Okay, so when we say allergic rhinitis, it is an allergic response to a specific allergen or allergens. It is usually caused when our body overreacts to a certain allergen like pollen, dust, or molds. Common signs of allergens includes yung very common is yung sneezing or yung pagbahing more than the usual, runny nose or yung passage of watery nasal discharge, and also they may also present with itchy or dry eyes yung makati yung mata nila. Some may also have dry or tickly cough, yung kumakati po ang lalamunan nila, and occasionally with sore throat and cough. Yung cough naman nila, hindi siya nagpa-persist. It's more of with particular timing of the day dahil brought about by the post-nasal drip. So, ang difference niya with allergic rhinitis, definitely you won't have fever and you won't have mga muscle pains like those na nakikita natin sa other illnesses.
Now that we know about these prevalent monsoon diseases, what's the best defense against them? We'll discuss this after a short break. We want to be your partner for a lifetime of good health, so stay with us on CNN Philippines.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is Med Talk Health Talk, where your health comes first. If you find yourself getting sick this rainy season, don't panic. Sometimes it can be prevented, but there are so many steps you can take to protect yourself from all of these viruses. From frequent hand washing to staying hydrated and getting immunization shots or prescriptions, we'll discuss all of these right now. So your first and best line of defense against viruses is to choose a healthy lifestyle. This is the best way to naturally keep your immune system strong. Dr. Sally, can you give us some tips to strengthen our immune system?
Our first line of defense is really to choose a healthy lifestyle. It is the single best step we can take to naturally keep our immune system working properly. So our body functions better when we are protected from environmental assaults and reinforced further if we take yung mga healthy living strategies such as avoiding smoking or other vices, eating nutritious food, staying hydrated, taking our daily doses of vitamins, exercising regularly, and getting adequate sleep, and as much as possible, try to minimize yung mga unnecessary stress. We must also update our immunization since vaccines are there to prime our immune system to fight off diseases even before they enter our body. So all of this play vital roles in fighting off diseases and strengthening our immune system.
Now, never underestimate what eating healthy, exercising regularly, and getting enough rest can do for your body. Now, vitamins and supplements are also a good way to boost one's immunity. Now, while most vitamins can be taken at any time of the day, some vitamins are actually better absorbed under certain conditions. Dr. Ferdy, what are some of the vitamins na dapat tinitake ng ating mga viewers?
What is very important nowadays is vitamin C plus zinc. Well, for the senior citizens, they have maybe antioxidants more, vitamins with antioxidants. Of course, different from the needs of those of young adults who go out to work, okay, who commute, because seniors have to stay at home, so less activity now. Of course, for children, another set of vitamins. So it depends on the age group and to the call of the physician. But I would still advise, eating healthy food, okay? So not so much with the vitamins because we are a culture who depended so much on vitamins. I would prefer we eat the right food and sleep.
It is actually more ideal to get your vitamins as well as any other nutrients doon sa pagkain na tinitake mo. Ngayon, going with what Dr. Ferdy said, Dr. Sally, meron ba tayong good sources ng vitamins pagdating sa pagkain?
Yes, there are. Aside from the usual na over-the-counter vitamin C supplements we can purchase from drugstores, it can also be found in many foods, particularly sa fruits and vegetables. So, the top sources of vitamin C are citrus fruits, yung oranges, kiwi, cantaloupes or melon, strawberries, even peppers, tomatoes, cauliflower, broccoli, and potato. So, basically, madali naman silang hanapin among sa mga groceries and even sa mga stores natin.
Yes, that's right. So, hindi dapat maging mahal para kumain ng masustansya. So, try to incorporate these foods into your daily diet as much as possible. And we also continue to remind you to always wash your hands and practice minimum health standards. Let's all work together to keep safe from these monsoon diseases as well as COVID-19. With that, I'd like to thank infectious disease specialist Dr. Ferdy de Guzman and pediatrician Dr. Rosalie Fuentes de la Rosa for guiding us today with this topic. We hope our conversation was very helpful to our viewers. Choose well and choose to be healthy. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Stay safe and we'll see you again next time.
tayo. Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, no? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya.